of how good these guys can be.
All right, let's move this along. Talk some Rocket power. Thunder Rockets game 2. Houston stuck to the script, shooting an NBA record 56 three-pointers en route to their win over OKC. Another game, another win without Russell Westbrook. Nick, how did the Rockets dominate game 2?
Math, took 56 threes. You don't even have to hit a good percentage if you take 56 threes. And listen, I believe the winner of Rockets-Lakers wins the title. I know there are folks out there that say small ball or this style of play can't win a title. I think not only do I disagree with that, I think it is an incorrect fact. It hasn't won a title, but this style of play had a 15-point Game 7 lead and was the favorites to win the NBA title in 2018 without their second-best player. If you're in that spot, you can win a title playing this way. They didn't, and they didn't close it, but the idea that, well, this style has a ceiling, I just don't think is factually accurate, and what they're doing without Russ and getting him this extra rest, Antoine, is huge.
Yeah, I think this series has a lot of storylines. I think, one, we're seeing the Rockets role players play the best we've seen them play all year long. When you think about 7 players in double figures, you think about Jeff Green, the role he's played so far, Daniel House Jr., Austin Rivers. These guys have been terrific for 2 games. Yep. So that's the one positive that the Rockets can take out of this. The other part is they've been consistent as far as playing their style. And what I mean by that, they've made the 3-point shots. It's going to be that night, though, Nick. You know when it comes, when they're going to make 5, 7 threes, what are they going to do for offense? It's going to come that night, and obviously,
they'll lose.
So they're gonna bank that they can do this 4 times. They've done it 2 times, and then 2, not to take anything away from the Rockets. They're playing a young, inexperienced OKC team that's kind of hit their wall right now in the playoffs, and they've taken it to them too as well.
I think we should see a lot more Iron Maiden shirts and not a Rockets jersey on Russ. I wouldn't start him until the second round. I'd let him chill and let him rest, and maybe wear a Metallica shirt. Also, yeah.
He's really pushing that heavy metal. Whitesnake. On to a pivotal game 3.
Oh, Whitesnake.
I think I just dated myself. Clippers, Mavs back in action tonight at 9. I always date myself. Antoine, you expect the Clippers to bounce back and retake this series lead?
I do expect them to bounce back, but I do not like the challenge that we're supposed to have the best perimeter defenders in Leonard, Paul George, and Patrick Beverly, and nobody is taking this responsibility and guarding Luka. Luka's dominated this series from start to finish. He gets where he wants to get to on the court, no matter who's guarding him. And it's actually disappointing and sad because I've yet to see a Kawhi Leonard or Paul George man up and say, I got him, and really take that responsibility. And that's what they were banking on these guys being terrific defensively. And Luka showed them, took it to a whole nother level. So I'm interested to see when is Kawhi Leonard or Paul George going to step up and take on this challenge. I'm not saying you're going to be able to shut him down, but he's got 70 points in 2 games. You got to be able to slow him down a little bit.
Listen, the only guy who's ever scored more points in his opening 2 playoff games, George Mikan, who was playing in the BAA 74 years ago. So there's no precedent. He broke Lou Alcindor's record. And he barely played in the second half of game 2. Listen, my pick was Clippers in 6. I think they'll win this game. However, if the Mavs win this game, I believe they're going to win the series. And if the Mavs win this game, it's going to be because the Clippers don't or they are unable to do exactly what Antoine's talking about. And so, Antoine, I just want to kick it back to you because you and I are seemingly the only 2 people talking about this aspect of it, which is the Clippers, in building their team, sacrificed rim protection for elite perimeter defense. The only way that works is if you actually have elite perimeter defense. And what I have seen from Kawhi all year is that as he has become the biggest focal point of the offense, as the offense runs through him, because he and Lou Williams aren't sharing the court a ton. When Lou's out there, he can defer to him a bit. He is not giving as much effort to to defense, which, by the way, is the story for almost every NBA superstar. Like, it's one thing to be a defensive stopper when that's your job. It's another thing when you have to be the guy on offense. But, and I know folks will say, Antoine, the Clippers, they switch. That's their defense. It is not beyond the pale to say, in a critical game, we have supposedly the best perimeter defender in the league. Guard Luka. Fight through screens. Don't switch. Make him feel you. Kawhi, that's your job. To me, that's what they have to do tonight, Antoine.
Without question, and somebody's gonna have to take charge of that. I'm in agreement with you, Nick. I'm actually, like I said, I'm disappointed and actually a little shocked. I thought Kawhi made his name on being a two-way player in this league. We put him in a special category where he jumped up the ladder to being one of the top 5 or 6 guys in the NBA because he was one of the few guys that was a two-way player. And he's lost a little bit of that. And sometimes, I guess, when he's become very good offensively, but sometimes guys become very good offensively. They don't want to play defense anymore. But what made him special was his ability to sit down and lock down perimeter guys at any point. He's yet to do that this series. I'm hoping that he takes this challenge on and guards Luka. If not, you got another guy, Paul George, who's supposed to be another top-notch perimeter defender who has not took that challenge yet, who has not delivered offensively with smaller guys guarding him that's not at his level. So they've got some problems. This is a pivotal game because if the Mavs win this, now you're looking at a very long series if they win this game. So this is a big game.
Go out.
Antoine, it seems like you're saying this is either an effort thing or an initiative problem between Kawhi and Paul George that they don't want it. After the game, Paul George said basically a schematic problem. So inside the locker room, is this Doc Rivers looking at those guys and be like, one of you needs to step up? Or is it on the player to take the onus and say, like, I've got Luka?
It should be the player step up. When you got guys like that, Doc will take that. If Kawhi Leonard says, hey, I got him, Doc is not going to argue that. If Paul George says, I got him, he's not going to argue that. But the fact that he's hiding them, using Pat Beverly early on, guarding them, then you go to Morris, why should he have to do that? Let those two guys guard him. And if he's got 70, the two guys that you started on him in the beginning haven't done their job. So now I got supposed to go to my best two guys who's supposed to be great perimeter defenders. I'm supposed to be able to go to them. So it'll be interesting to see if he can.
Let me translate a little bit what Paul George is saying. What Paul George is saying is, when he says it's schematics, is that our scheme is we switch everything. When you build a team with so many like-sized guys, Kawhi, Paul George, Marcus Morris, an undersized but great defender in Patrick Beverly, one of the reasons you do that is so you can switch everything and not be at a mismatch. So that's what Paul George is saying. But the idea that Kawhi can't veto that is anathema to the way the Clippers have run their entire franchise since Kawhi, he's about to sign. Guys, I will only sign if you trade everything you got for Paul George. No problem, sir, anything else. I would only like to play 3 out of 4 games. No problem, sir, anything else. They have done everything he has asked all year. So the idea that it's like, well, we're now handcuffed. We're now handcuffed because we switch everything. If he wants to, he can. Because what's happening is Kawhi often is guarding Luka right when they cross half court. But they're running a pick and roll every time, which is what the Mavs do. Everyone knows that. And the Mavs know you're going to switch. So it doesn't matter who starts off guarding him unless you stop switching. And the Mavericks have scored an average of 32 points in every quarter of this series, except for the one Kristaps got thrown out in. The Clippers have been dominated in every quarter of this series, except for the one Kristaps got thrown out in and the first 4 minutes of Game 1. If they do not come out tonight with the requisite intensity and remind everyone why they're allegedly title favorites, they will lose the game. And if they lose tonight's game, they will lose the series. And we're going to get Luka versus Jokic in round 2 as an opportunity to face LeBron, which I don't know if anyone's bracket has. So that's what's on the line tonight. I think they'll win, but if they don't, I don't think they're winning the series.